The Jester Radio Podcast.
Okay.
Carla, thank you so much for coming through. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So it's I enjoy your name on Instagram.
Veg Barbie.
Yeah, Veg Barbie. I think it's very cool, and I think just seeing your posts and seeing you now, and I think it's very apt to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain who you are and go into detail on why you do everything the way you do it?
Okay, so it's super simple.
There we go. Perfect.
I've been an animal lover my whole life. I just grew up in a family that absolutely loves animals. And one night I literally stumbled across a YouTube video of a documentary called Earthlings. It's so old, but it took me 3 days to watch it, and it's only an hour long because it is so soul destroying.
Sure.
I was in like a full depression for 3 days, and I literally, from that first 20 minutes, the first night I watched it, I went cold turkey vegan that night. And
When was this?
this was nearly 4 years ago.
Okay.
So naturally, being vegan, when you become vegan, you become a little bit angry at first. Probably the first 6 months, I was super angry with like everyone in the world, my family, because I couldn't understand why no one else was seeing everything the way I was seeing it. And then I realized instead of being that typical, I guess, like judgy vegan, I should rather just take a different approach. And that's when I started posting on my social media and trying to motivate people through a kinder way more than like a guilt trip, judgmental way. And then it just kind of took off from there. You know, the more I posted, then the more people were contacting me to obviously advertise for their brands and whatever. And I'm just very grateful and lucky. And I don't charge for posts or anything like that. I get asked all the time, how much do you charge? If I believe in a product, if it's cruelty free, if it's vegan, then I will advertise. Otherwise, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And it's like as simple as that. Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of advertising, you actually bought Sasha now some plant-powered
patisserie.
I was probably going to say that wrong, so I'm glad you said it first.
Yeah.
So there's a brownie and a cookie. So thank you very much for bringing these. And if you want to explain this brand and the motive behind.
Okay. I got married. When did I get married? Last year, 2019 March, and I couldn't find a vegan wedding cake. I was adamant on having a vegan wedding cake, and I realized that this is maybe something that I should do. And then like a couple of months later, it just happened. Like I wasn't planning properly for it, and it just happened. So I opened this tiny vegan bakery, and it's just kind of taken off. COVID obviously messed everything up a lot, and we felt it, but we're pulling through again now. And I'm just basically in a small little like bakery in Parkhurst with my sister, and we're just trying to prove how good vegan baking can be, that it tastes exactly the same, if not better. Okay. Which you'll see later.
So, yeah, definitely. And in terms of finding ingredients and using ingredients in the baking process that is substituting for eggs and that kind of stuff that obviously is not allowed in vegan processes, how do you go about finding the right things that work the best?
Well, it took, honestly, so I told you my sister lives right here.
Yeah.
It took about 8 months of weekends just practicing flopping recipes. There are actually like scientific baking alternatives. So for example, an egg, there's something called a flax egg. So it's if I'm not mistaken, 1 teaspoon of flax powder and 3 tablespoons of boiling water. I could be wrong, sorry, thinking offhand. And that's exactly an egg. So if you take a normal recipe, you can replace the egg with exactly that. People have figured it out over time. So it took a lot of flops, but we figured it out. And actually, it's not as difficult as everybody thinks. There's an alternative for literally, there's vegan margarine, there's vegan butter, there's almond milk, oat milk, soy milk. There's just an alternative for everything. And it's like, it's everywhere. It's not as hard.
Especially baking. People think, what's going to bind this? What's going to work? And I mean, there's so many almond flour, flaxseed. There's so many things that can be used.
Exactly.
And, there's no animals that are being hurt in the process. And that's obviously, your biggest, I think obviously that was initially your biggest choice for going vegan was, animal cruelty.
Yeah.
And do you think there is a way that people, like there is no, you said there's basically, are you saying that there's no way, to basically eat animals and to farm them, how, like in a correct way, in a humane way? I mean, how is it possible? Is it possible?
So I get asked that all the time. People say to me, if you lived on a farm and then you raised your own cows and chickens, or like, would you even eat the eggs of the chicken, if you knew they were happy? And like, I respect people, okay, who do that, who literally farm their own meat, or, hunt, all of that. Like, I respect it. But I still don't believe that it's right. I just don't believe that we are made to eat meat. Sorry. I know that people are thinking I'm crazy. Literally, we are just physically not made to eat meat. And I do think that, like, people... I find people very lazy who are often like, oh, I could so be vegan, but, you know what I mean? There's always a but. But for me, it's simple. People should just not eat animal products.
Yes.
I don't find it hard. There are millions of people that don't find it hard. I just find, there is no right way for me to kill an animal.
And initially the change that you made, was it difficult?
Okay, the only hard part, so for me at home it was absolutely fine, was eating out. So like if you go to a restaurant, for example, and they bring bread rolls to the table, and you say to the waiter, is there egg in this? They usually don't know. Or they, have your vegetables being cooked in butter. Like you have to think about all this stuff, and they look at you like you are literally mad. But now I'm talking 4 years ago. In the past year, like I feel nothing. You can ask like literally any restaurant. You can even go to a Steers and ask what's vegan, and they'll be able to tell you what is or isn't. But yeah, it was just going out that was difficult. At home, it was super easy. There's just so many apps and things now, and people to follow on Instagram. It's so easy. Yeah. Like, I find I get messages on Instagram all the time. Sorry, and I'm not being mean. I'm just being honest. And they're like, how do I do it? And I just want to say to them, like, come on. Like, it's just do it. It's not rocket science. I don't need to hold your hand. You don't need anyone to hold your hand. Just do it. It's simple.
Yeah. Well, I know personally, and it's, there's so many people that... I've had obviously Assad. I've had Assad on who obviously used to eat exactly like I do, right? And I'm not going to say, okay, that person's vegan, that person, they don't understand how the body works or whatever. I mean, that's why I've got you on, because there's people that eat meat that might really resonate with you and want to make the change, and you can help them and educate them. So I don't think people should also be closed off to the fact that, like, people think of vegan, they're hippies.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not always the case. It's not always just because you decide to not eat any plant-based proteins, any plant-based things where animals or whatever could be injured, the farming process, it doesn't make you a hippie, and it doesn't mean that just because you are conscious about the health and the environment, it doesn't mean that you now, don't understand the human body, because that's obviously my main followers I got through maybe bodybuilding, and a lot of them say, it's impossible to look good while on a vegan diet. It's impossible to build muscle, whereas, there's been tons of people that have proved that it can be done, and, if you know enough, you can build and train and have enough energy. And personally for you, how has your energy levels been, and have you seen a difference? Has it been pretty much the same or better, or?
So I would definitely say, okay, so at the beginning, I didn't really know what I was doing. So your body catches a little bit of a fright. And because vegetables and fruit digest the fastest out of all the food groups, you're kind of hungry all the time. And then the first thing you do is go for carbohydrates to try fill yourself. So my mistake, okay? So I always advise people not to do that. But I learned from it. After 6 months, I realized what I was doing was wrong. And so for me, veganism actually just made me so much more aware of what I was eating. And I don't mean that in an animal aspect. I mean that in my fats, how many fats I was having in a day, all of that stuff. So I actually landed up benefiting from it so much more. But that's because I was a proactive vegan. I wasn't a lazy one who just ate junk food all the time. So last year, I really focused on it, and I did the same thing as I said. We didn't know at the time, but we both wanted to prove that a vegan could enter a bodybuilding competition, and we both did Summer Super Bodies last year. And literally, I thought, what the hell am I doing? I had to do 12 weeks of prep. And I literally did it all on vegan protein shakes, that's it. And I was absolutely fine. I never felt stronger, better, healthier.
When you say on vegan protein shakes, was that like your main source of protein, or was it literally the only thing you were eating?
It was my main source of protein. Okay, so for example, I'll tell you what I ate in a day for 12 weeks. I'd wake up and have a shake with almonds, raw almonds. For lunch, I'd have a shake with a huge salad and avo. Afternoon snack would be a shake and BCAAs, and then dinner would be veggies with a shake and some avo.
How was that in terms of, because regardless, being in a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter if you're eating meat or whatever. If you're eating a calorie deficit, you're in a deficit, so your brain function is going to be relatively the same, and your energy levels are going to be the same. If you're eating 1,800 calories of a vegan-based plan or 1,800 calories or whatever, it's still going to be the same. Yeah, and I mean, I watched a podcast because Miley Cyrus used to be vegan, and she said that she stopped being vegan because she had a omega-3 deficiency, and she needed fish. But there's so many omega-3 supplements, there's so many different sources to get omega-3, that it wasn't veganism that did her wrong. It was the fact that she was probably just not clued up.
100%. I feel like that's when most people quit. So I'm not a doctor. When I have people DM me and ask me questions, I always say to them, I get really nervous to help people because you don't want to get blamed for something. Yeah. But you hear horror stories of people's hair falling out and all of that stuff. But again, I just call that a lazy vegan diet where you literally haven't put in the effort. I literally researched and with my coach adapted a diet for me, I don't give it to anyone because I don't believe it will work for everyone. And that exact example of Miley Cyrus, I have, times where I feel a little bit, weak, down, I don't know, whatever. I go straight to my doctor, run some blood. Okay, my iron's low. I go for an iron drip. But I know hundreds of girls with iron deficiencies that eat red meat all the time. I don't fully blame that on veganism. You have to eat a
ton of red meat to be able to get the iron deficiency.
So that's the point that I was making earlier, that veganism just actually made me more aware of everything about my body and has actually helped me. And I do feel like it's a poor excuse to say that. I know she said that her brain function wasn't the same. But
she's probably still doing the same amount of drugs and all that kind of stuff.
I can't say that's ever happened to me. Yeah, I get tired, I get run down, but that's anyone would.
Doesn't matter what you're eating. If you are, trying to be healthy, or even if you're unhealthy, people that are super unhealthy, eating lots of sugar and lots of processed food, they also get tired. They also get run down. It's not only, certain things that you're missing. It's a factor of lots of 100%. Many different things.
100%.
And how I think also the Game Changer documentary, I think that was slightly beneficial and also very negative, because I think it made people kind of attack the vegan community, and because it kind of, if people watched it and they're like, Arnold, why is Arnold now, advocating veganism, whereas everybody knows he's eating meat. Yeah. He's just doing it because he's got money within the vegan protein 100%. Industry or whatever, and he's trying to make more money. So I think they scrutinize that a lot because of the, hidden agendas within the documentary.
Yes.
But it obviously did shed a lot of light and positivity in it as well.
So, that documentary drove me insane for 6 months because I found that, okay, I'm just going to be honest here. All like the people, like I hear vegan jokes all day. Like every second guy drops a vegan joke and I'm just like, okay, I've heard them. I laugh, whatever, I don't mind. But all those people that used to judge me the most were suddenly messaging me, emailing me, DMing me, asking me for diets, which I don't do. I don't give people diets. And I feel like everybody just suddenly wanted to do it for the complete wrong reasons. And it all faded out. Every single person that went vegan because of that documentary is not. I don't know one. I'll be surprised, if somebody messages me and says, no, I don't know one single person, because everyone thought they were going to get stronger, buffer, more muscle. I don't know what they were thinking, but it was all for the wrong reasons. I do appreciate the documentary. Thank God, like it made people aware of how good it is for you. But if you're not understanding that veganism helps, it's saving animals, it's helping you, it's helping the environment, it's like a full circle thing, you're not going to stick with it. If you're just doing it for, just to look good, then don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it like that.
So that is your biggest thing is you do it for the environment and for the animals.
So like for me, I know that this sounds terrible and please God, like it never happens to me. If I get to the point where, like my hair starts falling out or something, I will literally do everything I can, take whatever hormone supplement I need to take just so that I can stay vegan. Like,
what is it about veganism that makes your hair fall out? Is it veganism or
I know 2 girls that it's happened to. And again, they went to doctors who then advised them to go back to eating, meat and fish and everything. You never know. It could have been a complete coincidence. It really could have. But at the same time, like I strongly believe in the blood type diet. I don't know if you believe in that. And I know I'm blood type A, which A is a vegetarian-based blood type. So I thrive.
So it works for you.
Literally, it works for me so well. Whereas in like, I think O is the meat-eating type. Like, I always say to people who contact me who are O, to rather be, I don't know if you've heard about flexitarian, to rather, like, don't be so hard on yourself in the beginning and just try to do it slower than someone like me who just went cold turkey.
No pun intended.
Yeah, literally. So it's so hard. Everything's so personal, but I just know that I don't want to go back ever, no matter what. I'll rather take whatever I have to take.
Zinc supplements or something, because I think that's like skin, hair, nails is pretty much zinc.
And you know what, like older ladies like land up on, DHEA, they land up on testosterone, we all land up needing help. I just feel like people in general should be going to endocrinologists and all of that anyway and checking everything out. So we all need a little bit of assistance. So I just don't think that veganism can be blamed entirely for huge deficiencies. That's it.
Also, I think, people will be like, okay, well, let me go vegan, then they continue smoking, they continue drinking, they continue being unhealthy, being unfit, not exercising, and then, their health doesn't change, and then they blame it on veganism. Or, it's the same thing even with eating meat. People can continue doing all those unhealthy things, and then they blame meat. So I think it's, as you say, what works for you might not work for someone else.
Yeah.
I love meat. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to have you on a podcast. It doesn't mean I'm not going to hear out what this person has to say. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try those meat alternatives. It doesn't mean I'm not going to see if something works for me differently. I love meat. It'll be a difficult change. But if I personally feel better doing it, why wouldn't I? And I think that's a lot of people's hesitation is... Maybe it's with the judgment of people saying, oh, you're vegan, you're just following the craze.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've got a lot of people that obviously, as you say, message you of the game chasers. They're just chasing, the biggest trend.
No, that's true. What I always say to people is that the one thing that I strongly believe in, because as much as I say, like I said earlier, it's easy, just go vegan. we'll never have a world that's fully vegan. I know that for a fact. But the one thing that I 100% believe in, and I don't care what argument anyone comes with, we are not supposed to eat dairy. It's actually 65% of the world's population is lactose intolerant.
Probably more, yeah.
Oh,
Probably,
yeah, you're right.
I definitely think it's probably almost every human.
And it's just not for us. It's obviously not for us. It's for a baby cow, okay? And so I always say to people when they're like, I wish I could be, but I just can't give up, meat or tuna or whatever they're eating. Then I say to them, okay, fine, just give up dairy. And I believe that and people can argue this, there is more suffering for animals in the dairy industry. So for example, a cow that's a dairy cow will literally drop dead of exhaustion after about 4 years. And cows can live like way longer than that. If I'm not mistaken, they can live up to 20 years. I could be wrong, but it's way longer than 4 years. They literally drop dead from exhaustion. That cow is then the cow that's bought by, for example, McDonald's, and that's what's being put into a McDonald's patty, right? Which is disgusting, sorry. So for me, that suffering is so much worse than, let's say, a cow that's just going to get slaughtered, which, if I get into that, I'll make you puke. I'm just saying. There's no humane way of slaughtering a cow, but for me, the suffering is a lot worse of a dairy cow.
Yes, okay.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I also hear all the time, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, that whey protein makes people feel sick after they have it. I don't know if you've ever heard people say that. You get that
many times. People feel nauseous, or even it upsets their stomach.
Exactly. So I feel like if, let's say, every bodybuilder in South Africa just suddenly changed from their whey to a plant-based whey, well, it's not really called plant-based whey, it's, a plant-based shake, it will just make like the hugest difference. Like, that's what I believe, like huge. And people don't realize that there is a benefit in that, like health-wise and for the environment and obviously for the animals, if you make a tiny change just like that.
Yeah.
Or just have almond milk in your cappuccino instead of cow's milk, and, vegan flora instead of normal flora, like all those little like that's so tiny to change in your life. And you can still eat your steak, I won't judge you, but like I'd be so proud of every single person I know giving up dairy. And a lot of people do it, but then they'll still have that slice of cake or something, which for me is a poor excuse as well.
But there's a lot of places to go to that you can get your slice of cake, you can get your cookies, you can get your brownies, and no animals were harmed in the process.
Exactly. Like everywhere's got vegan alternatives now. Like you can go to, for example, like one of my favorite places is Paul's Homemade Ice Cream. Yeah. They're everywhere, and they've got I think about 3 or 4 vegan ice cream flavors. They sell out all the time. Like so often I'll go there on a Saturday afternoon and it's sold out, because people are now choosing that. It's not only vegans, because people are making healthier decisions and, not going for the dairy option.
They're not running to the bathroom afterwards, because that's the biggest toxic thing is with ice creams, normal dairy ice creams, it upsets people's stomach. And I mean, I know for myself, I know if I have a little bit of ice cream, I know my stomach's not going to be very happy with me, and I'm not going to be happy with myself.
100%.
So that's also maybe, I think, where if people see something that says vegan, or if they see something that says gluten-free, I think it's uneducated people that think that is less sugar or less carbs, and I think that's also where people need to be educated on. Is just because something says gluten-free does not mean, yes, maybe it's better for people that have gluten intolerance, but it's not better. It doesn't mean you can eat more of it because it's gluten-free, and same goes as vegan. But it's better for the environment. It doesn't, and it might be better for you in terms of the processes within your body. But it doesn't mean you can eat double the amount because it's vegan or because it's gluten-free.
Like literally, we've had a demand at our bakery now for a keto tart. So we've made a vegan chocolate keto tart, which is like pretty hard to accomplish, because most keto things, obviously have dairy in it.
Yes.
And it's delicious. and it's made 100% keto, but it's super high in fat, like super high. So like it's exactly that, where I have like people coming in, you know, like we had one lady coming in like 4 days in a row to buy one, and I wanted to say to her, like, it's fine, it's really like, it's fine, but like you aren't going to lose weight on your keto diet if you're eating that every single day. Just because it's gluten-free and sugar-free, it's still really high in fat.
Or people don't even follow a keto plan, but they see it's a keto cookie and they're like, okay, great. If I eat this, it doesn't matter if I'm still eating my pizza and whatever afterwards.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you're like so right. So like the one thing that drives me nuts, like I literally get requests all day for gluten-free products. And the first thing I say to the customer is, are you gluten-free? Or are you just trying to be healthy and have a vegan gluten-free cake? Because gluten-free, sorry, I'm going to say gluten-free stuff tastes disgusting. I think so.
I've never even tried to do it because
I'm not gluten-free at all. 11% of the population has celiac disease. So those are people that really have to avoid it, and they get like severe stomach ache if they eat gluten, and I feel very bad for them. But a lot of people are just doing it because they think it's, you know, the right thing to do. And I always say to people, if you're not living 100% gluten-free lifestyle, just get a normal cake. You're having a piece of vegan cake as is. You're already doing, you know, something good. Like, why make it gluten-free on top of it? Because like it gets gluten-free is just a different texture. It's a different taste. Like, I make it, it's expensive, and I'll sell it if you want it. But I just don't believe in this whole gluten-free lifestyle. I think it's the biggest sort of rubbish ever, just to be honest.
That's the problem, is people think it's gluten-free. Free of gluten does not mean that it's free of carbs, free of sugar. And it's education in everything. Education in how to follow a vegan diet. Education in, you know, in everything. How would you now, because obviously you did that show where that was last year, December, November, whatever. So you did that show, and obviously you say you're having the shakes and stuff now. Well, how do you get your protein sources in? Obviously not prepping for a show, and you know, getting your protein, you know, from different plant-based products.
So basically, I'll still have my shake every morning, which I feel like that's pretty normal for anyone, you know, who goes to gym in the morning. And then I'm a huge fan of tofu, huge. And there's still that myth around, you know, that it increases your estrogen, and that's absolute rubbish. And so I have tofu nearly every day, and then like in the afternoon I'll have like some nuts or peanut butter on a rice cake or something like that. And then for dinner I actually probably, to be honest with you, don't get enough protein at the moment, but I'm fine. I make sure my fats are high, and then I try incorporate like higher protein vegetables, which is a little bit hard because I can't eat enough portion wise. So for example, if I make like a bowl, you know, you get those restaurants like Crunch where you can pick like what you want in your bowl. I'll always make sure there's chickpeas, lentils, broccoli, all of those that have protein in it. Although, like I said, you have to eat quite a big portion to get enough protein. I'm just very aware of what vegetables I'm eating. So as in, like, my husband, who'll eat like a piece of fish, let's say with lettuce, cucumber, tomato, that's fine. He's getting it. I can't just eat lettuce, tomato, cucumber. I have to make sure there's a lot more nutrients in it. For me now, it's just like, I'm just so used to it because like I know what I need to eat. But I've definitely been a little bit slack with protein, but I feel fine. I'm fitter than I've ever been. But I know that, let's say if I want to drop like 2 or 3% of fat before December, I will start increasing my protein shakes a little bit and decreasing my fat a little bit.
And is that also what you do? Is because, you know, you say like your beans and your, basically your carb sources is also where you're getting your protein from.
Exactly.
And that's also where a lot of people are like, oh no, it's fine. I'm just going to eat tons of beans, tons of this, tons of that. And then it kind of comes to a point where you're eating so much carbs that you're not going to actually lose weight. Yes, you're getting in enough protein, but you need to work out that balance, and you need to work out that balance for you.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give people to basically, know, obviously read up, research, but it's the same as it's education. You can't look at something and be like, no, as long as I'm not eating any meat, it's fine that all of these things are carbs.
Yeah, no. Like, I think that's like a huge issue with veganism. If you go get a vegan burrito bowl, which is like a huge thing. There's one of those at every restaurant now. There's way too many carbs in it, 100%. Like the amount of beans that's in that portion of that bowl, for example, you don't need that portion of rice as well. People don't understand that. So a lot of vegans like put on weight initially and don't understand why. Well, that's why. So I use the... is it the Under Armour app? I'm pretty sure it's the Under Armour app.
MyFitnessPal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. And then you can literally see everything. And once you start punching stuff into that, you're like, oh my God.
Look how much carbs I'm having.
Exactly. Yeah. So whereas like I told you at the beginning of my vegan journey, when I was just eating carbs and not understanding why I wasn't getting full because I wasn't having enough fat. Now when I'm having a bowl and there's a nice portion of beans, let's say, tomato, cucumber, onion, lettuce, and then like half an avo, I'm so full. If I eat that and let's say I eliminate the avo and there's brown rice there, an hour later I'll be starving. Yeah. I'll literally be starving. So again, I've learned that for my body, like what works for mine. Like I know that carbs don't do well with me. Everybody's different. I know that there's like quite an accomplished vegan bodybuilder, and when I went to speak to her once, she told me that carbs help her build muscle, and she's super lean. So it works for her. Everyone's different. You just have to be so careful and just listen to your body. Like I've never been more in tune with my body than I am now, like currently. I'm definitely a little bit too hectic with caffeine. That's why I can see I'm shaking today. I've had too much caffeine today. But I have to learn to listen to myself, because I feel like energy-wise, I think we all think that we're supposed to have energy the whole day. I've had that in my head for so long, and I've realized you're actually not supposed to. Like, it's okay, but by 5-6 o'clock that you're actually tired. It's fine. Like, you don't need to be pumping... I really need to listen to myself today. Like this afternoon, I shouldn't have a coffee. It's okay to be tired and go home and just chill and stretch or whatever after work. And people have this thing like, oh, you're vegan, you're going to be exhausted the whole day. But I feel like I've always been that type of person. I don't know about you, by 4-5 o'clock, you're tired. Yeah. It's life. We have a stressful life.
I also find the more tired I am, I'm like, okay, good, I'm tired. That means I'm working hard enough.
Yes, exactly. Like if you're not exhausted, if you haven't trained hard enough at gym, or if like I don't train, I feel like I get more tired. Like I get like sluggish.
And it's true. The less you do, the more tired you actually become.
It's terrible. So I just feel like getting to know your body is a very important thing, and it will help you throughout your whole life. Whether you're vegan or not, I guess. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if you want to just quickly also just say where exactly in Parkhurst.
Oh, so we actually are a wholesale bakery now because of COVID. So we are inside a coffee shop. It's called Jay's Java and Juice. It's not vegan. It's just vegan friendly. So every day we stock them with all their vegan donuts, pastries, cookies, brownies, you name it. It's all there. You can go there, have like an amazing cup of coffee, any vegan treat you can think of, a toasted sandwich, vegan or not vegan. And it's 73 6th Street, Parkhurst. And it's dog friendly as well. And it's really cute and cool. And I'm always there. So if anyone wants vegan advice, I'm there. Again, not a doctor. I hate giving people advice, but I can always guide people if they want to. So that's it.
Well, thank you so much for coming through. And thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. Cheers.